It's your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to continue talking about all of the open source software that I use on a regular basis. Now, I did part 1 last week, so if you haven't seen that, make sure to go back and check it out. I'll have links in the description. This week I'm going to go over a bunch more of open source software that I use on a very regular basis. It may not be daily, some things are kind of automated stuff, so they run, but it's open source software nonetheless. So I want to go through that, let you guys see it. Maybe I'll have something that you haven't seen before, or something that'll pique your interest and make you think, hey, maybe that would work for me as well. And definitely all my videos that I have telling you how to get these things set up or installed if I have one, I will also have linked in the description and in the show notes if I make any show notes, but probably this will just be one with the description. But I hope you guys enjoy this. I think you're going to love it, and this is a 2024 edition. I love making these videos. They're so much fun, and it's so much fun just to go through all the stuff that I'm using. So out of the gate, Mail in a Box is definitely one of the ones that I use. I've been running it 4 or 5 years now. It's really great. It's a self-hosted email system, and when you set it up on your own system, and really it's a set of scripts that goes and gets things set up for you. Postfix and your Dovecot and all the other things that you need to have a mail system running, and it gets all that stuff, kind of synced up, and it walks you through the process on a nice little wizard, and then it helps you get all of your other records, your DNS records you need set up going. The hard part about it these days is if you want to run your own mail server, it's hard to do on a VPS. It's not impossible, but VPS providers generally block those ports because they've had so many people come and start up an inexpensive server, set up something like Mail in a Box, spam a bunch of people, and then shut down the server, and then that IP address is blocked by the spam filters forever unless they go to the trouble to take it off there, and they got tired of doing that. So they've kind of blocked those ports. If you have your account with them for like 60 days or longer, sometimes they'll go ahead and say, yeah, you can start using it, but I'd say it's probably not worth it these days. If you have a static IP address that's a public IP address at home and your ISP does not block those ports, you could run something like that at home if you want to. There's other ways to do it as well, but I do run it and I like it. It's got a lot of really cool stuff. So Mail in a Box has email. It also installs a Nextcloud server and sets up your calendar and your card DAV and some file storage and things like that, which is pretty nice. It does not set up the entire suite of Nextcloud. It just sets up the things that it needs for you to have those extra features, which is pretty cool, and I kind of like that. It's pretty nice. So if you haven't ever checked out Mail in a Box, I will have a link in the description. Just beware, you want to really check out your service, make sure they allow it, and then make sure the IP address is in our block list, and you want to have a static IP address if you're going to do mail. Before I continue with the video, I just want to say thank you so very much to my patrons over at Patreon, to the people who pay me a little money through PayPal. I just cannot tell you how much it means to me. Patrons, you guys are awesome. I mean, it just, that you want to support me on a monthly basis means so much to me. I cannot tell you how thankful I am and how great it is that you want to support me in making this content. I hope this content gives you something all the time. I do my very best to give you the best information I can about the most awesome open source projects out there. For the people who pay me something through PayPal, I mean, really and truly, it just makes my day to see something come through like that. It just makes me feel so great, and I just truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so very much. You make this such a great time, and honestly, the money you guys pay me go back into the hardware that it takes to run this channel, to the DigitalOcean droplets that I use to run this channel, to the different services that I'm using to run this channel, and I'm paying back into open source. You can go to my website, you can see a table of where I'm paying and what I'm paying, and really and truly, it's because of you guys that I'm able to do that, and so we are all supporting open source together, so thank you so very much. If you haven't already done it, make sure to go down and click that thumbs up, click the subscribe button so you'll know when I put out new videos. It helps me, it helps the video get discovered, it helps the channel get discovered, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you again. Now let's get started. The next one that I do is Jitsi Meet. So this is the actual public Jitsi Meet. It's meet.jit.si. You can 100% self-host Jitsi Meet, and I do. I just didn't want to put it up here, but Jitsi Meet's awesome. If you've never tried it, it is a public meeting place with audio and video chat, and then it's got a chat room in it so you can do text chat, and it's got all kinds of cool controls, just like you would have if you were doing an online Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting or any other kind of online meeting, Slack meeting, that kind of stuff. Jitsi Meet's great, and a lot of the open source projects have integrations to be able to create a room. It's really easy. You actually just create a link and send people to it, and it creates a room for you, and you can just add something to here. So if I wanted to have a meeting, I could do meet.jit.si/Brian's meeting / it's going to take me to a room that's called that. It's going to say, hey, I need to be able to use your microphone, and it's going to tell me you don't have a camera hooked up, which I don't. Once you allow the microphone, you'll get here and you'll see you have different controls for things. but you can put in your name. And then you do need to sign in. So Jitsi Meet used to be a no sign-in system. You could just start a meeting, share the link with your friends. They could all join. It was great. Except they got, unfortunately, a bunch of people who were using the system for bad things, as people tend to do. So they created a registration system, and at least one person has to log into the room as the monitor or the administrator before you can do it. So if I were to click this right now, it would see it says waiting for the moderator, and you have to log in. So if I don't log in, it's just going to sit like this until somebody who's logged into Jitsi Meet or logs in. Now you can log in with your GitHub or other kind of credentials. You don't have to use the Jitsi credentials, but you do have to log in to use it. But it's open source. You can run it yourself, and you don't have to use the login stuff. You can set login stuff up if you want to. It's really nice, and it's actually very performant. It runs pretty well, pretty great. I really like Jitsi Meet. So the next one I do is Discourse. If you've ever been to a forum in the last probably 5 or 6 years, it's probably been something that looks similar to this. You can kind of lay these out a little bit different. You can do different things with them, but Discourse is really a nice forum system, but it can also be a documentation system. It can be a form of a wiki if that's what you want. You can kind of create different categories, and you could create a wiki category that is only for you to write and add in, but other people can read it. You can do all kinds of really cool stuff with Discourse. It's a pretty awesome piece of software, but it is definitely one that takes a bit more resource than some, so be ready for that. But I use this for my Linux users group. We post our stuff, and we post when our meetings are going to be and things like that. But you can see, sometimes I remember to go post things, and I'll post news articles or different information, learning about Linux, all kinds of things. It's a Linux-based, open source-based Linux users group, so that's what we like to read. But Discourse is amazing. You can get in, everybody can create accounts, you can see the different things people post, you can go through and look at other things that are related, you can see the different stats. I mean, it's a nice system. If you've never logged into one, it's pretty amazing. So if you ever come across one of these forums, pretty great and pretty easy to use. So the next one here is Rockstor. So if you saw my Ugreen NAS review, I did that about, a month ago now maybe. It's a really nice network attached storage system that's been created by Ugreen. It's kind of a new space for them, but they sent me one to review, and I thought, okay, I want to see if I can put something else on it. And I didn't even have to crack it open or mess with the warranty of the hardware or anything like that. I just installed another SSD and then went into the BIOS and told it to boot from that SSD. And I installed Rockstor on it, and Rockstor is pretty amazing open source software. It's a NAS system, and you can see here what's going on with the disks, and you can change which disk you're looking at to see what's happening with them. And then over here you can look at your pools and your capacity that you have for your storage, and you can see a lot of different information that's going on in the system, network usage and memory usage and CPU usage and everything like that. And then you've got a ton of different controls related to these different drop downs up here, so you can look at your storage areas. You can go see the system information, you can check out different information, you can do maintenance and things like that in it. And then you've got some rock-ons is what they call them. These are really Docker kind of containers that they've set up. I haven't installed any yet, but if you go look, they've got quite a few. It's kind of like a Portainer type thing where they've got this particular setup you have to do to get them working. But they've got a pretty good list here. I mean, I'd like to see more for sure, but I think that's based on how many users are using it and how many people are building rock-ons for them. But it's a pretty good list. I mean, it's not like it's a small list of things you could run. But when you get ready, you say you find one. Let's just look at OpenVPN right here. You click on install. It's going to come up and it's going to run you through a little wizard to ask you, like, where do you want this to run? What port do you want it to run on? Those kind of things. Click next. It's going to ask you for a little bit more information, So server address, what do you want that server address to be? You'd click next, and then it would go through the process. And it's pretty easy to get them installed and up and running. You just have to kind of check out the documentation about what you need to do to make it run. And it does. It's really great. They've got some support, different things you can do to get some support, community forum, as we've talked about. So yeah, I like Rockstor. It's pretty easy to use. It's pretty easy to navigate. Setting up your shares and things like that is pretty straightforward. To me, this is where Ugreen should have headed to say, hey, we need something to run our NAS system on. They should have started here and then kind of built out more stuff on top of it if that's what they wanted. I think they'd have been a little better off to do that instead of trying to create their own operating system out of the gate. But I think Rockstor is amazing, and open source, just absolutely cool. I like it a lot. The next one we're going to talk about here is OpenWRT. So this is what I run on my router here at home, and this is what I run on all of my hotspots throughout the house. So I've got my main router, which is actually connected to my modem, and it's an x86 PC. It's running OpenWRT, and you can see it's barely using any resources at all here. It's got just a little bit of stuff going on here. It's not much. And then we've got my ports that I've got connected up. Now it's got more ports than this, I just don't have them connected. But you can see I've got ETH0, it's a 1 gigabit port, and then I've got ETH1. Even though it says no link, it's actually connected. And then we've got these things down here with a little bit of IP address information. And then I've got all of the machines that are connecting and pulling addresses through DHCP. I've got a lot of things on my network, don't worry, I know. And then here's IPv6 information for the ones that are getting IPv6. And then as you go through, if you've never checked out OpenWRT, it's got a ton of stuff in it. So you can do routing. You can check out what your routing is happening here. You can go to your firewall and see what's going on with the firewall. So this is the firewall logging, not so much the setup, that's somewhere else. This is really the status pages. You've got a system log, so you can see what's happening in the system log. You've got your different processes that are running in the system, and you've got actions you can take on those processes. So very, very clean, nice way to do that. And then you've got your real-time graphs, and these things will start up and start, showing you different information as things are going on the system. And you can switch kind of what things you're looking at. So here's the traffic graphs, and you can switch which port or item you're looking at when you do these. So you can see my ETH0 got a little traffic going on it there. So really pretty nice system there. You've got your system basics, so you can see all your system information, set up your time zone, that kind of stuff. And then you've got administrative stuff here where you can set up your SSH. You've got all of your different settings and things like that. You've got backup and restore, which is an incredible tool. Backing up your system when you've got it set exactly the way you want it and be able to restore it when something goes wrong is just a super powerful thing. So even in your router, backups are super important. You can set up scheduled tasks. So I've got a scheduled task that says reboot this machine every so many days. It just reboots the router just to make sure things are running smooth, clears out the cache, that kind of stuff. Then you've got your interface set up. So here you can see I've got my main LAN, then I've got several VLANs that I've set up, and the same way over in these machines. So this is one of my wall plates. I've got 3 different wall plate Wi-Fi hotspots that also have PoE. They run off of PoE, and then they have three ports each. I have them set up for the same VLAN. So if I go in here and check, show you that, you can see I've got the same setup for the VLANs. So these things just run off of the VLAN trunking that I do from the main router, and then my VLANs I can connect to with Wi-Fi. So really powerful system and really great. I've got a whole set of videos I've done on this stuff alone, so I definitely suggest you check it out. But OpenWRT is incredible. It's been rock solid since I did those videos. It's just been a really like a beast, just running like crazy. Pi-hole. So I do run Pi-hole on my network. I usually run 2 versions of Pi-hole, but I've been kind of shifting things around on my network. So right now I've just got 1 running. If it goes down, it's pretty easy to spin it up. I've got a snapshot of it already that I can spin up a new one from if I need to. But yeah, Pi-hole is great because it looks at the web pages you're visiting and it sees like, hey, I see that you're trying to send a bunch of information over to these advertisers. I'm going to block that, and I'm going to block these little pop-ups that come up from these advertisers. So it can really clean up your browsing experience. It can speed up your page load times because you're not loading up a bunch of advertisements in the background. Sometimes, they'll say, hey, we notice you've got some stuff that's trying to hide ads. It'd really help us out if you wouldn't do that. It's up to you if you decide to turn it off, but I use it. I think it's great, and it blocks a lot of stuff on my network, so it makes it a lot easier. So I use Pi-hole for my DNS on my network, and everything goes through my Pi-hole, and you can kind of see the stats there. Uptime Kuma, if you've never seen this one, this is an awesome, awesome tool. So there's all kinds of other tools that have been out there forever, but the guy who made this, he made a really great tool here because it tells you, here's my service, and it goes out and it lets you tell it how to check that service in different ways, so you can pick different ways that you check that service. Like here, my email server is up and running. I can tell it to go check my Guacamole server. I can tell it to go check Invoice Ninja. My Discourse server for my Linux user group, my Jitsi meets my Linux user group, my Mesh Central server, everything that I'm running that I'm really worried about, is it up and running when I need it? This goes and checks. And green is good, red is bad. Now if you're colorblind, it also tells you up or down. And if it's down, you want to go fix it. If you see red over here at this right end, then you have something that's down. But it also sends you notifications. That's one of the most powerful pieces of this piece of software right here. It is just amazing. So if I go here to Trillium Notes, so my Trillium Notes, for whatever reason, when I restart the hardware, even though the Docker tries to start, it doesn't start up Trillium Notes correctly, and I'm not sure why. But sometimes it'll go down, and this thing sends me a notification to say, hey, your Trillium Notes is down, and it sends it to me through Rocket Chat. I can go over here and just do what I have to do to restart Trillium Notes, and it's back up and running again. It's very minimal effort for me, and it does exactly what I need it to do. You can see the status progress of different things. I usually stick right here, but then you've got these settings, and over here in the settings, you've got this notification area. So you can set up your notifications, and in this case, I use notifications through a webhook that goes to my Rocket chat. I love Uptime Kuma. It gives me all the information I want to see. It lets me know what's happening, and it notifies me when things go down. It's really a great system. I've just been enjoying the heck out of it, and I've used it a ton, and it's come in super handy for things just like when Trillium goes down, or when the other day everything started sending me notifications that all my services were down. I was like, what is going on? Well, I migrated one of my domain names from one registrar to another, and that migration went well, and everything ran for a few days like no problem. So I thought everything worked fine. What happened was it was all cached, so it ran fine, and then when the cache updated, when it transferred over, it did not get the new registrar's name servers, so nothing was working. I had to go fix the name servers, but I had to do a little bit of hunting to kind of figure that was the problem. But yeah, super great. I love Uptime Kuma. Next up is Jellyfin. So a lot of people use Plex, some people use Emby. I use Jellyfin because Jellyfin kind of followed through with what Plex and Emby initially kind of promised. Plex initially promised, hey, we're going to make this open source. It wasn't at the time, but hey, we're gonna. And then people got in it, and they really liked it. They like it, that's fine. You pay for it, that's your business. I didn't appreciate that they never went open source. That really bothered me. Emby kind of did the same thing. Like, well, we're going to split off because Plex didn't do it. We're gonna make our own thing, and we're going to be open source. And for a while, the backend was open source, and now I think they've closed sourced it as well. Maybe I'm wrong, but they never fully open sourced it, and a group of them split off and made Jellyfin, and they said, we're going to make this open source. And they did from the first day, and it's been open source since then, so I'm super happy with it. It's had a ton of work done on it over the years, and it really works pretty flawlessly. I mean, I use this thing on my computer, I use it on my phone, I use it on my tablet, I use it on my Roku, I use it on my Apple TV. I mean, I have just so much great experience with Jellyfin. I think it's just been really terrific. They've done a ton of work, and they've got a ton of clients out there. I'm sure Plex may have more, Emby may have more, I don't know, but there's enough clients that most people, I would guess 99% of people, could be very satisfied with the experience you get from Jellyfin. I really just enjoy it. It's super great. Had a ton of fun with it. So that brings me to media and media management. So I do use some media management software. So this one is Sonar, and this manages all of my television series. So as I buy DVD sets and things like that, or if I record something, this helps me manage it so that I can watch it when I'm ready to watch it. Radar helps me manage my movie stuff. So I've just got one movie pulled up here. It's really, a nice system, and it helps you manage all your movie stuff and get everything named correctly, so you can get cover art and stuff like that from the internet, which is great. And it keeps your movies in the right place. So I love that kind of thing for it. QBittorent, I use QBittorent. It's great. So if you want to download any kind of Linux software, the fastest way you can do that is to use a torrent client like this. And almost every Linux distribution out there has a torrent version that you can get, and then this thing will pull from multiple people at once, and it'll come down like lightning. You can always download it from them directly, but they're using a mirror or something like that, and it hits their service account, and it costs them money over time for all those downloads and all that transfer. So I try to use torrents just because it does split that across the community a little bit more, and people can share and things like that. Navidrome is my music player of choice. Now this uses a subsonic API, I think it's subsonic is the API that it's using, not airsonic. But you can use a mobile player to hit the server. So this is really the server. Here's all of my kind of albums. They're all broken up. But you can split things out by albums, by artist, by song, and then you can go in and kind of create playlists. So you can see here I've got different playlists that I've created. So if I go into my hair rock playlist, I've got quite a bit of stuff on here. It'll play for a while, which is great. I've got a hip-hop playlist that I've created over time. I don't have everything on it yet. I've got a second rock playlist that has a lot of the same songs from the first one, but rearranged. And then I've got a few different ones on it as well. So yeah, I love it because I can just go into it with my mobile app and set that up to my headphones or whatever. And when I'm mowing the yard, I can have music going or listen to a podcast or whatever I want to do. It's really a great way, and I love the application. The developer has done a ton of work on it. It's getting updates pretty regularly, so I really like that. So this is Invoice Ninja. I have one client, but I do invoice them. So I was using Creator Invoice. I really liked it, but for whatever reason, the development on it just stopped and they didn't continue it, and it kind of broke. So I just couldn't use that anymore. It's kind of sad because it did everything I needed it to do. It was really cool. But I switched over to Invoice Ninja. I got it running. I did a video on it a while back. It's pretty great software as well. It's got a ton built into it. The Invoice Ninja people have been working on this for years. It's a very mature product. It's really great. But yeah, you can see I've got just different things that I'm doing. and I've got different billing and graphs and things that tell me information about the, what I'm bringing in, which isn't a ton, but it's okay. I've just got the one client, but eventually I'm hoping to have more clients, and I'll be using something. It'll probably be Invoice Ninja to do these things. But yeah, I think it's a terrific tool. It lets me send them a bill, lets them pay me, lets them let me, it tells me when they've paid me. I can go and mark it as paid depending on how I get the payment, all that kind of stuff. And it kind of keeps track of my finances. And you can also go in and put in expenses and do a whole bunch of other stuff that'll help you at tax time. So really, really terrific. I think it's a great tool. Invoice Ninja is awesome. The next tool I want to talk about is called Terminator, and this is a terminal emulator, and it's really great. So if you see, I've got this thing broken out into different windows. This is all one window, okay? So I've just told it to split up my panel into different windows, and you can do a lot in these things. Now, I usually have the font blown up, so if you do Control-Shift+, you can bring up the font really big, or you can do Control- and bring it back down pretty small. It's up to you wherever your vision is comfortable. For me, I usually have it a little bit bigger than what you see over here for sure. But you can do a lot in these things, and you can put a lot of information in these things. You can be running multiple tasks, and it makes it really nice because you're not switching windows or tabs or whatever. It just lets you see what's happening. When a thing finishes, you can go deal with it. And you can move around complete with the keyboard, or you can jump around with the mouse. It's up to you how you do it. But yeah, you can split this up as many times as you want to. It doesn't really care. You can split this one horizontally, and then this one vertically, and then you can just do all kinds of crazy stuff. So you can put this one vertical. And yeah, you start to get a lot of little open windows, but you can do a whole lot of things. Depending on your visual acuity, you could do a ton on a really big monitor with something like this. So Terminator is a really top-notch terminal app. I use it a lot. I usually have it installed on every Linux system that I have a graphical user interface for because it's just so useful. Tabby is another one. I don't actually have Tabby on this machine, but it's another really great terminal emulator that I use, and it's got some really great features like saving little snippets of stuff that you want to do and just typing in a command that makes it run that snippet. It's great. So Tabby is another great one. But yeah, Terminator's awesome. So next up, I have OpenMediaVault. Now I use this for a client. They have a pretty nice server, and I've got them set up with OpenMediaVault for their storage, and I've set up some Samba shares that I use on their network with all of their Windows machines and their Windows VMs, and that way they can store stuff in the share, and then they can just jump to a VM and it's right there. They can pull it up and use it. They can move things between their different machines pretty easily. They can share things across. It's a really nice setup. I think OpenMediaVault's a pretty great piece of software. I think this is OpenMediaVault 5. There's OpenMediaVault 6. I haven't tried it yet, but it may be better. OpenMediaVault 5 is working just fine for them, and they're still getting OS updates and things like that on the Debian system underneath. Docker still gets updated. Portainer still gets updated. So I use a few Docker containers and Portainers through OpenMediaVault for them as well to run some different services for them. So yeah, I mean, super, super great. I really, really enjoy OpenMediaVault as well. And so next up, we've got LibreOffice. Now, I know a ton of people love Microsoft Office. They think there's nothing better than Microsoft Office. I would say that Office is just a very overproduced Office suite. I think it has, for 99.999% of people, I would guess that they use about 5% of what Microsoft Office can do. And I would say that any other Office suite on the planet would absolutely work for them, including LibreOffice. And LibreOffice, they would probably use 7% of what LibreOffice can do. Most people just are not power users, and they don't need all of the tools in the world that you can have on these different Office suites. But LibreOffice is an extremely capable, extremely powerful Office suite. It has got a ton of tooling and power behind it, and the team behind it is constantly updating it and making it even better. And the best part is it works really tightly with Nextcloud. You can use the collaborative version, which is the online version of LibreOffice, with Nextcloud, which is amazing. And really and truly, LibreOffice is just incredible. Like spreadsheets, everything else just works like you would expect. It's very little that's ever too different from what you get with Microsoft Office. But yeah, LibreOffice is awesome. If you haven't checked it out in a while, you should definitely go check it out because it's great. It's open source. Okay, this one is called XPipe. I did a video on this one a while back. I really like it. It is a great way to connect to your Docker systems. It just lets you jump in right to the terminal for your Docker host, or you can go into your Docker containers and click on it and jump into the terminal right in the container. If you ever tried to write that command to jump into a Docker container to do something inside the container, docker exec -it container name /bin/bash, and then gotten a message that says no bash. This doesn't care. It just goes in and it says, let me figure out what it needs. You click on that terminal and it opens it up and you're inside of this Docker container at the command prompt, and you can do what you need to do. And you can do this for all of your different servers. You can do this for all your different Docker servers. You can see that it's got Docker support. It's also got LXC container support, as I recall. It's got some really, really great tooling around it. XPipe is amazing. If you haven't seen it, go check that video out. If you're somebody who has to jump into and out of a lot of different servers and services all day long, in the terminal especially, this is a tool that you might want to have in your belt. It's really great. I think it had a little memory leak, and one of my viewers wrote to me saying, hey, like, this thing's got a pretty bad memory leak. All I could tell him was, hey, go tell them at the project and see if maybe they'll fix it. He went and reported it, and he told me they fixed it. I mean, that's the great thing about open source. How often are you going to tell Microsoft, I think you might have a memory leak in Excel, and they're actually going to go do something about it within a week? Never. You are never going to see that. I promise you. Unless it is a critical security flaw, it is not going to get touched. If it's a critical security flaw, you might get an update next month. It is just not something that happens whenever you're talking about closed source world, unfortunately. But I can tell you right now, that's amazing that this person said, I found a memory leak, gave them the information they needed, and they fixed it in less than a week. That's awesome. That is the power of open source, and this is an awesome tool. All right, we're getting down to the last couple here. So this one is RustDesk. If you haven't checked out RustDesk, if you've ever tried to use TeamViewer or AnyDesk or any of the other, freemium type systems that you don't know who the heck is running the servers or how they're doing them or where they're at or what they're watching whenever you're doing things with people, this is a system that you can use the RustDesk servers if you really want to. But they run those servers more as like a demo. They want you to go get their software and run the server yourself. They want you to get it set up to be secure, and then they want you to share this with your clients. Tell your clients, I'm going to get you to go get the RustDesk client. They're going to open it up. You're going to tell them, hey, I'm going to help you run through a couple of settings real quick, and that's going to get you connected to me. And then when your RustDesk server is running, you're going to get this little ready, and you're going to get this little ID. Now, if you try to hit my ID, you won't be able to, because I'm running this on my own domain with my own special key. Even if you got on my domain, you would still have to have the key to be able to reach my machine. So it's a nice, secure way to connect to your clients to help them out with desktop support. So my client calls me and says, hey, I can't get this thing to work, or hey, my system froze up, I don't know what to do, or hey, I've got this giant full screen ad that I can't get rid of. I can jump on RustDesk. They can give me their number. I can store their number if I want to. I can create favorites, whatever I want to do. And when I hit connect, it's going to prompt them. It's not like I just log in. It's going to prompt them to say, hey, Brian's trying to connect to you. And they're going to go, yeah, I just asked Brian for help. Go ahead and let him in. If it pops up and says, hey, Brian's trying to connect to you, and they weren't asking me for help and they haven't talked to me in a week, they're going to go, no. And then they're going to get on the phone with me and say, what are you doing? So it's a really, really cool system. I really like it. And if you check out their warnings, I mean, just so much great stuff. They're working on the Wayland support. It's been working great for me, by the way. Thank you guys from RustDesk. Doing an awesome job. This is an incredible tool. It's a super powerful tool. They have some premium features that you can pay for, but the community version is awesome. I got to tell you right now, they've got some great premium features, and if you're somebody who does support all the time, it might be worth it to you to go talk to them and say, hey, I'd like to pay for your premium version. I think you've got the tooling I want, and I promise you it's going to be more affordable than TeamViewer or AnyDesk. All right, last but certainly not least is Veloren. Now, I did this video probably more than a year ago at this point, but I love this game. This is a game where I can host the server myself. It is a game that is a voxel game. So if you've played Minecraft, you know what voxel is. This game is just absolutely incredible. So this is the startup screen. This kind of is where it will tell you need to update your version. The server in the background is running Watchtower, and it's running in Docker. So Watchtower keeps the server up to date most of the time. Once in a while I got to go do it myself, but most of the time it catches it. But when you hit launch, it's going to go out there. It's going to start up the game. Here we go. Now this is my daughter trying to play on my server here, but if I go and log in with mine, I think it's, oh, look at that. So it's telling me right now, okay? This is great. It says, hey, you might want to update your game client. It was updated on 5.2, and the server was updated on 4.24. So really, I don't need to update the client. I need to update the server. The server didn't get the updates. That's what I'm talking about. So this is where I would go back and open up XPipe, and I would say, hey, I need to go update that server. I go in and real quick, just run the commands to update it, be done with it, and move on with my day. And in about 10 minutes, we're going to be playing Veloren, because I build my own world in Veloren, which is awesome. That's a little bit more complicated, but not super difficult. But yeah, I mean, Veloren is such a cool, fun game. We just run all over this crazy world that I build, and we fight and battle and fly and have fun and just do all kinds of crazy stuff, and just it is so much fun. If you haven't seen my Veloren video, I will have it linked in the description as well. But such a great game. If you haven't played it, and if you are like me and you're worried about your children playing on other people's servers who you don't know, and you don't know what kind of person they are, and you don't know who's out there on the internet. I mean, the internet's great, but it's also full of not so great people. So I don't want them to have to run across that. So I run the server myself. We play it here on my own LAN, and I feel much better about it. Plus, it's a great time for us to have family time, because we literally sit around a table and each have our machine, and we play and we talk to each other, and we form, you know, strategies, and we do all kinds of great stuff and have such a great time. So yeah, love this game. It's a terrific project. That is the video for this week, guys, and that is the end of the 2024 tour of all of the open source software that I use on a regular basis. I hope you enjoyed it. I really hope that you found something you haven't seen before, something that piqued your interest, something that reminded you wanted to go back and check it out. It is just so much fun for me. I really appreciate it. If you found something new, drop a comment. Let me know about it. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along on the open source journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.